talks about, yeah, we want peace, yeah, we want peace in the Middle East, and we want the situation in Israel resolved, and two-state solution, and wait a minute, you want us to what?
Yeah, right.
You want us to appear with a Palestinian?
And
well, no, we can't do that.
We've been doing it a year. This is our first show in the United States.
Right.
And I've been trying, to get people. We've been promoting it. We've been reaching out. We couldn't get anybody to book us now. This is our first tour here in the U.S., right?
This is, yes.
Big deal, huh?
Yes, we're in the land of Lincoln.
It was a blast, wasn't it? What'd you think?
Unbelievable. Just beyond my expectations.
Yeah, and you had there were 400 people, and I think 380 of them were related to you.
Friends and family.
From Chicago. That always helps comedians, doesn't it?
Yeah,
especially in our business, right?
Well, you weren't aware of the fact that it was a bring-your-own-audience situation.
I know. You had no hesitation, and obviously neither did I, but it wasn't as easy as we thought, but we pulled it off pretty quick, right? I mean, it must have been, we started talking, I think, in November, and we had our first show the end of January, I think, right?
Middle of January.
Right, the very last 10 days of January into the first couple of days of February of last year, 2007.
Right.
Yeah, so we pulled it up pretty good, but it wasn't easy. Half your relatives are the good relatives, the one that didn't go to Occupy Palestine. They're in the audience, though. But
well, they've been looking for Occupy Palestine, actually. The ones that are in occupied Chicago are here. Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking. I do a lot of political humor.
How you doing? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Charley Warady. As Aaron mentioned, when I was living in the States, I was a stand-up comedian. I had traveled all across the country. I did comedy clubs and colleges, appeared on television a couple of times. And then 11 years ago, I moved to Israel because my life was going too well. I'm kidding. Actually, you know what? I'm originally from Chicago. I moved because of the weather.
Co-founder of the Israeli-Palestinian Comedy Tour, Charley Warady. We're in Chicago. We just finished a great tour at Spertus, and it was a blast, wasn't it? What'd you think?
Unbelievable. Just beyond my expectations.
What do you do to get ready for your show?
I button my cuffs. And I freak out. What you're going to see is 4 headliners doing 25 minutes apiece, which is much tougher than the actual Mideast peace process.
They said the show was sold out. Of course it would be. You got about half the tickets. And I know this is going to be Hal. Let's get a hand for Hal. We introduced us. He's the dean. Today's his last day when they found out that they gave a security pass to the whole building for a Palestinian. I haven't seen the show. Is it okay? I've been out there looking for the Chagals.
You do your Palestinian bent.
Any Arabs in the audience? Good security. I'm used to doing Arab audiences, so it's so nice to have an audience like you that isn't handcuffed, hooded, and shackled. I actually do a lot of Jewish audiences, Hillel, B'nai B'rith, the White House. You're not going to have a heart attack, am I? Right? You die, you're the Patriot Act. I go to jail for 18 months. Is there a doctor in the house? Yeah, right. What a question to ask.
And Yisrael's brand of comedy is more of a personal growth kind of thing.
He lost me the pre-Sumerian period, where he lists all Jews by name. That book should be called The History of the Jews, every single one.
light the second Hanukkah candle first. You know why? Everyone. Because it's new! That's what he said. It's new. It's standing next to a candle that burned last night. It might be a little nervous.
But it wasn't easy. Was it easy finding other Israeli comedians?
And you know what was very surprising, and I don't even think I ever told this story, but when I approached Yisrael Campbell about it, because he's, I mean, as far as Israeli comedians and things like that, he is possibly my favorite.
Yeah, he does very well, and
brilliant comedian, and he does it all in English, and,
right?
You know, whatever.
But and aside from the welfare that he gets from the state of Israel, because he's Haredi, you know,
right,
that's his only income, isn't it, comedy?
I think so. So, but
don't take anything I say serious about Israel. He's a good guy.
But like you said, I mean, he's very orthodox, and I wasn't sure of his politics.
Right.
But because of his, you know, a lot of ultra-orthodox people are pretty right-wing.
So out of consideration for the feelings of a candle, we light it first. They're not insane. I know that on the second night of Hanukkah, the first night candles, this is the second night candles. They're both brand new. Last night's candle's gone. Never coming back.
I'm not sure. Maybe.
Yeah, well, since you've been in Chicago, you've been walking up 18 flights.
Yeah, I've been walking up 18 flights of stairs while Shabbos.
And I just assumed maybe he was a little bit too right-wing, but he was the first one that I approached with the idea of joining our little group, and he didn't hesitate.
Wow, that's
great. He really didn't, and he said, wow, that's an incredible idea, absolutely.
Suddenly it hits me. If this is a people, if this is a culture, if this is a religion that cares so much about the feelings of a candle, imagine how they must treat people! Not so well, I find out. I mean, not all the time.
And Yisrael, what do you do ahead of time before a show? What do you just go over notes, or?
Yeah, I write out my act.
You do. You do write it out.
A few words. Not word for word.
Very few words. Yeah, right.
I write warm. That means is it warm in here, or am I the only one just from Poland in the 17th century?
All
Catholic.
Right. And you go through. So you have it burned in your head. I mean, out of all the.
I only have 40 minutes.
Is that it?
Why do you be very tough on people? But don't embarrass the campers. We'll be ready. I'm not trying to go into it, but don't embarrass the book.
I looked around, and obviously I was doing some comedy with Aaron Freeman, and I give Aaron a lot of credit because he, you know, being his big audience is a Jewish community. I mean, partnering with Palestinian, not to say things about communities, but it's not an easy thing to do in the Jewish community, and partnering with an Israeli or even a Jewish community sometimes is not an easy thing to do in the Palestinian community.
Right.
So he didn't hesitate either. He said, yeah, let's do some comedy. When I told him I had met you and you had were reaching out to some other comedians, he jumped on board pretty quick too.
Yeah. So it just, I mean, it fell together, and it turned out, most importantly, that it's a really funny show.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Everybody adds their own type of comedy.
I've been this 33 years. Never had laryngitis before in my life.
Wow.
Never.
We get Aaron Freeman come all the way in from that foreign place, Highland Park, the north suburbs of Chicago.
The mythical place.
So what do you think of the show?
The place us Southsiders have never heard of.
Highland Park, yeah. That's a big, very expensive
place that people disappear to after they move away from the South Side.
Did it feel like a Palestinian stole something from you?
It felt like there was a jihadi blowing himself up into my throat.
You were in shock there.
That would make a great cold medication commercial.
Yeah, I'll get it in a minute.
I feel like a jihadi blew himself up in my throat.
Take NyQuil.
I'm Aaron Freeman. I'm going to be acting as your host this evening. The Israeli-Palestinian Comedy Tour, as you may or may not know, performs with the goal of ending the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in 6 shows. This is our 10th show.
You lost your voice a couple days ago. Has that ever happened?
By the Israelis. Actually, my voice was taken away by the IDF.
It was taken away?
It's a joke. Certainly a joke I won't make on this stage.
Why not? These are old people. What do they know?
Hey, these are my peeps. I'm hoping that you don't want to make them laugh too hard because you could hurt them.
So essentially, what happens is Aaron gets up there and acts as the MC of the show. And he does an intro segment. He'll introduce you or Yisrael, then me, and then end it with you or Yisrael. We kind of sandwich me in between the two. Right. And then he comes and he does comedy in between each comedian, and then we end it.
And we love it. It's almost as much as any of you do. Please give it up for our buddy, Mr. Charley Warady.
Thank you. Aaron Freeman.
This guy in Alabama that threw his 4 kids off a bridge.
No, I don't like to read news like that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But when I get
there and it's going like, I can use some material here.
I wouldn't want my daughter to marry a black guy. Do not talk at all. He's dating your class. I relate. It is. When somebody says we had to move out to the neighborhood with black, they are not talking about these. They are not. No, they say the same thing. All they didn't work. All they want to do is have babies. Babies and shivers. It's your luck. It's not me.
All right, Aaron, what do you do when you get ready for your show?
I review the jokes that I wrote this morning.
And on your little Trio
my little iPhone.
Your iPhone. All right, this guy really.
iPhone, huh?
Yeah,
that's true.
So,
yeah, you live in Highland Park, isn't it like a requirement?
At my health club, they don't let you in without one.
I'm supervisor. So you say, I love the way they party. I love the way they.
No, see, I'm actually a Jew by choice, as opposed to most of you who had no choice.
I don't know if I'd appear with you though in the future.
Yeah,
This way I can say, well, I'm not really appearing with Charlie. I'm doing my own segment, sandwiched in with the rest of these guys.
In the Middle East, when they're talking about a Palestinian state, we have no idea what the heck they're talking about. When Mayor Daley said he supports the Pakistani state, we don't even ask, okay?
We don't really like each other.
Okay, that explains it. Okay. Are you apprehensive at all?
Yeah, I don't want to do it anymore. Now that I got my check, I'm out of here.
But there were a couple comedians that were a little hesitant, weren't there? I mean, it was not easy.
Oh yeah.
There was some, and not to make a political statement, but just to show people that it sounds like a simple thing to do.
No,
and it's not that easy.
Not at all. No, there's obviously, I mean, politics going on.
Oh yeah.
And even with the comedians in Israel, is that they have an audience. They have, a target audience.
Right.
And they know what their target audience wants. And if you're, for instance, a religious,
it's not about the specific
comedian, being with a Palestinian is going to alienate your audience.
Right, it could. And actually, it was the same with the Arab community. I mean, it was a tough thing. I couldn't get any other Palestinian comedians to say yes. None of them would do that.
Yeah.
In fact, none of the Arab comedians would do it. In fact, the entire Arab world and the Russian, the Soviet communist bloc and all of them, they all said no. Iran issued a fatwa. I think Ahmadinejad said no Arab should appear with the Israeli-Palestinian Comedy Tour.
I was doing stand-up in the States, so they've never seen this act.
And you've been writing him, telling him you're a doctor in Israel? And
Yes, that I had an honest job.
Okay. But that was that South Shore Valley, Pill Hill had the largest concentration of actually Palestinian and Jews living in the same neighborhood.
And it was so strange because until you mentioned it and until I looked at that picture again, who knew?
Yeah, no, I mean...
We didn't know from Arab and
No.
Jewish, and it was, you know, kids were kids, and that was it.
No, I remember when you guys would have Shabbat on Friday, all the Arab kids would get together, we'd break into the JCC, you know, stuff like that.
The first thing I had to learn was Hebrew, and Hebrew is a tough language. It's just English is so much easier. I mean, English is just, it's shorter, it's more succinct, it's more to the point. You know, I mean, you listen to any Israeli walking down the street answering his cell phone, he's like, "Hello, Makoy, Makadash, my name is Mamasa, Mashonka." Yeah, translated to English, that's stop.
But well, how did it start? I mean,
Well,
from your narrative.
Yeah, my
Israeli
from my
narrative.
standpoint.
Yeah, let's get your,
Well,
then we'll get mine, and we'll get a negotiator in.
It was
to kind of,
completely my idea.
yeah, of course. Yeah, you
And
know.
I dragged you into it,
Yes,
kicking
yeah.
and screaming.
But people, I mean, if you can help them, give them a little something. I said, I was American Jews. What do I have to do? He said, you have to answer these 5 questions in the affirmative. Maybe you should know the question before you tell me the answer. Yes. What is the question? There it is. 1, did I come to this decision of free will? Yes. 2, did I sever any former religious affiliations? Yes. I didn't write the book and say I'm that. It wasn't this book, the Nazi book. It wasn't a Nazi, it was a member of the Hitler. I didn't deserve the German army in 1945. I never remind you, Hitler deserved the German army in 1945. 1945, nobody got anything in the German army.
In East Jerusalem, which obviously I consider a Palestinian area, but without getting into a political thing, Spertus told me that there were some people that were complaining about our show. And I said, that's Spertus. And I said, oh, what was the complaint about? And he said, well, they were a little taken aback that Israel described himself as being from West Jerusalem.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I said, well, you know, none of the Palestinians complained, but then they're not here to support it either.
But in Israel,
and I don't think Israel is intended to make a political statement. He just said that you're from West Jerusalem, like you'd say you're from the south side of Chicago or the north side of Chicago.
And if you're from Israel, that wouldn't have any effect on anybody.
Right.
Nobody would think twice about that.
Yeah.
If you were to tell somebody
here,
like in Hebrew, you know, I'm from West Jerusalem,
yeah,
they would know where you're from.
Yeah, it's like a part of the city.
Yeah, it's directions.
Of course.
It's not a political statement. But here, everything is a political statement.
Well, that's because there's a little guilt, I think, not just with the Jewish community, but the Arab community. You know, they're living in happiness, luxury, making money, they can enjoy themselves.
People are so much more opinionated
Yeah.
about what goes on there.
They want to tell you what to do, right?
Yeah,
Here, I know, it's
than they are there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? It's amazing how many times you hear Americans, they come over to visit us in Israel, you know, tour groups, and you talk to these people in the tour groups, and they'll tell you, you know, listen, you can't give up any of the West Bank.
Right, yeah, it's like
you know?
We're negotiators.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing a comedy show.
You got to be crazy to give up any of the West Bank. Okay, and where do you live? Well, I live in New Jersey. Well, okay, that's easy for you to say coming from New Jersey.
In American-occupied New Jersey.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Yeah.
You know, it is true because, people get mad at me. They go, Ray, who are you to say that you support a two-state solution? I go, well, I'm just expressing an opinion.
Right.
You know, that's what democracy is about.
Right.
I'm not a negotiator. Nobody cares what I have to say, so why do you care? But it's, but the point is that there are all these little political landmines. We've been able to navigate it really well. The more people see how funny it is, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, there's a message. I mean, we don't get up there and say,
But I'll tell you, I was very moved by the fact that they were smart enough to let women organize this peace process. President Bush sent Condoleezza Rice to the Middle East, remember? The Israelis, Ehud Olmert, sent Zippy Livni. She's a hot babe. I like her. And the Palestinians said the woman, Mahmoud Abbas. And I'll tell you what, I think we should send women because, you know, there's something about women that's so much better with negotiating things. You know, we call it a green line, we call it pink lace. No, move it over there, it'll look better. No, that's okay, that'd be really nice. We wouldn't be destroying homes, we'd be redecorating. We wouldn't be trading land for peace, we'd be mixing and matching. And women never say no.
And I was looking up my old neighborhood in Chicago, and you are writing an online book.
Yeah,
about
I had an online book called Midnight Flight about how we had that neighborhood on the southeast side of Chicago, Pill Hill, South Shore Valley. I think they've changed the names of it a couple times. And everything was going great until Aaron Freeman's family moved into our neighborhood. And you guys left and went up to Homewood, and we went southwest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that. So you came across that book online.
Right.
And I think I named all my friends. I'm still fighting some legal lawsuits. We don't know him.
Yeah, it turned out that we had mutual friends. And, well, at least siblings.
Right, because I'm a couple years older than you.
You're a lot older than me.
Yeah, by the way, how much older am I?
You're 2 years older than me.
Okay, well, that's a lot. Yeah, right. Okay, see, these Israelis, you can't trust them.
And I had to learn how to drive. When I moved to Israel. Yeah. I thought I knew how to drive. Yeah, but what they do there, and what I call driving, two different things. Yeah, like for instance, did you know that if somebody's crossing the street and you don't make eye contact, you can hit them. I think it's legal. I mean, more people have been killed on the roads in Israel than all the terrorist attacks and wars combined. So the government, learning this, jumps into action, and they enact a lawsuit that is now a law that you must have in your car easily accessible a neon plastic yellow vest. Yeah, because that was the problem. You know, last weekend there was a 6-car pileup, 3 people died, but according to police reports, none of those people were wearing a yellow vest. Well, no wonder. I got a ticket for walking. Yeah, I was crossing the side street, evidently there was a light there, and evidently I crossed against the light. I didn't see the light, but I get to the other side of the street, and 2 cops jump out of nowhere and give me a ticket. Yeah, because I guess the maniac drivers in Israel are not the problem. It's the walkers. And I don't know. By the way, how many of you have been to Israel? Okay, good. So those of you that have been here can vouch for me when I say this, is that Israel has absolutely, without question, the most beautiful women in the world. Right? I mean, yeah. And that includes, like, the cops. Yeah, like the 2 that stopped me. Yeah, so I'm standing there waiting for bargaining skipper to write me out a ticket. and they're writing out the ticket, and they said to me, "You know what you did, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been bad. I need to be punished." Yeah, I got 2 tickets. Yeah, one for crossing against the light, one for just being creepy. And they don't tell you everything that you need to know about driving. But I really liked your writing.
It's different.
And so I sent you an email.
Right, I remember getting your email. I was excited. I said, wow, this guy either doesn't know what's going on in the Middle East, or, he set me up. The Mossad has set me up so they can arrest me. Here's what we think should happen. But the fact that we're on stage together sends a message that, the motto that we have is, if we can laugh together, we can live together.
Yeah.
And
I think the most important thing is that people walk away from it knowing that it can be done.
Yeah.
And that's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
Plus, it's like I said, it's a funny show.
Yeah,
I was sitting backstage listening, to the whole thing, and I was the last one up there. And I was just enjoying the show.
Yeah, it was good.
The
It
whole
was a
show.
lot of fun.
I'm thinking, God, this is really a funny show.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, Aaron gets up and starts my introduction, and I'm like, oh my God, it's my turn.
Yeah, you got to get up there and start thinking about what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Now, it was a little nerve-wracking. This is actually the first show my wife has seen.
Oh yeah, how was that?
And, well, it was good. She loved it. She thought it was great. Now, she saw my very first appearance at Zany's, which was like the first 5 minutes I ever did. And it went over really well then, but she said, you know, obviously, you know, 5 years, it's actually gotten to be a lot better, so.
I collect these. These flight safety cards, you guys collect? I steal them from every plane. I got them from Air Canada, ATA, United Airlines, American Airlines. I stole one from El Al. They sent me aside and they hunted me down. And they took it back. They said, I steal one more of these, they're going to go to Ramallah and destroy the homes of 4 of my relatives. I said, I don't have any relatives in Ramallah. They said, we don't care. It's okay to laugh, sir. Don't worry about it.
But then what's the other version?
The
of
other
story?
version? The factual version?
That one too, you know.
Thanks so much, you guys, for coming out. My name is Charley Warady. I just want to bring back my co-host, Aaron Freeman. Yisrael Campbell. And my co-founder of the Israeli-Palestinian Comedy Tour, Hanania. Thanks, everybody.
You know, is it the Middle East peace process that's really the toughest thing to negotiate? And I said, no. Getting 4 headliners to only do 25 minutes apiece.
Yeah. People come up to me at the airport, they ask me all kinds of questions. The most popular question I get asked, are you on my flight?
Come and see us, and yeah, book us. Yeah,
Book us. We need bookings.
Peace is one thing, but we're definitely in it for the money.
All right.